I'm going to hit record. So I do hope that you have a lovely day, and it seems to be that Thursday is the day of snowstorms this season. So even though this time it didn't start or we didn't wake up to it, it's coming, it sounds like. So hopefully they're wrong and it's very minimal. But one thing that I think about when I come to this season, March, it is a lot of times this sort of thing, right? We have very uh, kind of like warmer weather. We get this glimpse into spring. We get a snowstorm the next day, and then it kind of goes all over the place. And seasonally, I think that kind of is a representation of balance. And so I like to think about bringing lots of balance opportunities and practices in my yoga this time of year. So we're going to do some things that, and it may not feel exactly like you would imagine balance would feel, but hopefully we'll stimulate and create some nice ways for us to find that harmony within. So if you haven't found a comfortable seat, go ahead and set up so that you do settle in. You might shift a little side to side on your sit bones. You might lean into the back of your chair or sit tall, whatever feels more comfortable for you. You might even adjust where the legs are, in front or back. Now, start to notice your breath. Oftentimes when we hear the word balance, especially in relationship to yoga, I think we think of standing on one leg. And we can also think about how insides can feel a little imbalanced. And so this breath practice is just a way to work with that play within. So as you're breathing, start to bring an awareness to something that feels disconnected in your body. When I mean disconnection, just doesn't feel like it's really rooted into your essence or being. So this could be something like if you have a place that's chronically in pain or maybe even acutely in pain, something like a shoulder or a hip or a knee. Just take a moment to focus on that space. It doesn't have to be pain. It's just that that's sometimes how we do very easily find something that feels a little bit distanced from our own or whole body. It could also just feel like something that you haven't moved yet today, right? Maybe the shoulders do feel tight because you haven't moved them around a lot. And wherever that place is, now I want you to imagine that you can breathe into that place. Breath means expansion, openness, and see what happens when you do send those intentions towards that place. If you still haven't identified a place of disconnection in your body, I would say think of your belly, but again, hopefully you've got another space and you're going to take another 2-3 breaths, just breathing intention and openness into that area of your body. Now, I invite you to think of a place that feels maybe a little bit more connected to your body. It may be that you do feel this nice rhythm of breath. So maybe it's something about the way that we breathe. Maybe you did some walking this morning or ate a good meal, and so your belly feels good or some muscles feel nice and warm. It really could be anything. Maybe you read something really delightful or watched something delightful, and your mind feels connected to who you are. And again, if you scan your body and you're not really sure what connected means as far as a body area, I would invite to just think of your heart if nothing else comes to mind for you. And so we already have this space and connection, but I invite you now to draw your breath into that openness. And you might find when we already support and breathe into a space that feels open or light, it's almost like working with watercolors, right? It's not just that you land the paintbrush onto the canvas, it disperses quite quickly and spreads and expands. And so the next piece to this centering practice is allow that breath and allow that openness to direct toward that space that feels a little disconnected, almost like tracing an energy line. You go from the open space towards the space that feels a little less connected, wherever that is in your body. And you're simply tracing almost like a pathway of breath going from one spot to the other. And allow that to just go one direction, right? So from the openness space, sending the energy to the less open or less connected space. And then finally, if you've got that nice solid line going in that direction towards the space of disconnection, start to allow this now to be a little less pointed and disperse out through the rest of your body. So the breath may go from openness to that one space, but then maybe it spreads through the length of your torso. You might start to feel that energy or that connection out through the limbs, through the hands, through the feet, through the crown of the head. Taking at least one whole breath into your whole body, feeling the space and connection. And then an exhale. Now, if you need a little bit more time with this centering practice, take all the time you need. If you feel ready to start to shift towards movement, you can begin to open your eyes, maybe start to set an intention for your class if you usually do that for yourself. And then I'd like to offer that we start out with a pretty active posture right away. We're going to do a bird dog. So bird dog sometimes is done tabletop, but I like the seated version of this. So if you know the version that's on hands and knees, you could always opt for that. Otherwise, you're going to go from the seat of your chair. We're going to just start with one arm at a time. So go ahead and extend your right arm up. And you might feel that the arm has the effort to hold here, right? You're just lifting the arm straight out like you're about ready to shake someone's hand. And even though this doesn't quite feel like imbalance or balancing in your body, if you pay attention, or if we would hold the arm out here long enough, you might feel the other side, your other waist, the other side of your body kind of anchor or counter your center so that you do stay on your chair. So it is a balance practice. Let's go ahead and release that arm down. You can shake out the arm, you can roll the shoulders. And then let's practice that on the other side. So again, you're going to extend the other arm out, nice and strong, straight out in front. And so it looks like that. Yeah. And then just taking in, if you do notice that opposite sort of hip, that opposite side of the body, if you can press it down just so that you stay nice and steady in your chair. Now, you may not notice that you need to do that too much, right? Our arm's not so heavy that you're going to all of a sudden tip. But might feel the subtlety that it takes just a little bit more on that opposite side, the opposite belly muscles, to anchor yourself here. All right, let's go ahead and relax that arm. You might notice that like, oh, that does fatigue my arm a little bit. So you can shake it out. You can roll the shoulders. So now we're gonna do one of the legs, and I'll start with the right. So go ahead and lift that leg. Now, lifting the leg does take the effort of the leg, but you should feel a little bit of effort into the belly muscles as well. If not, try to recruit them in and draw the belly muscles in. Sitting tall in the spine so that's not putting pressure into your back, right? So you might have to lift up and then feeling the weight of this leg. If this doesn't feel like too much of a challenge, you can take the opposite hand and also float that up. Now the hand that's on the same side, you can let that rest or hold on to the chair. So you might feel that that effort goes a little bit stronger if you have the hand and leg both reaching out. And you might notice that that almost balances the body a little bit better, right? You don't feel like you're about ready to tip, or hopefully not. All right, let's go ahead and lower that hand, that knee. Go ahead and shake out the leg if you'd like. Shake out the shoulder if it needs. And then let's go ahead and set up the other side. So extend the left leg or that second leg. If that feels like manageable in your body, you can do the hand as well and reaching that hand out. And so now our focus is feeling the effort of lifting the leg, anchoring to the opposite hip, having that other arm extended and anchoring to the opposite shoulder. It's very subtle. If it doesn't feel like that much work, it just means that you're strong throughout your core and torso muscles. But we'll of course add on to the strength we're working on. But this is a way to experience that diagonal that allows us to find balance in our body. Let's take one more breath here, and then let's go ahead and relax everything. So those feet can come down to the mat. You can windshield wiper the knees or shake them out. And then let's go ahead and set up into stargazer pose. So this is swinging the right leg over to the side instead of in a bent leg position. You're going to go ahead and extend it straight. And the idea is that you want to take the right fingertips and get them as far away from the right toes as you can. So you're going to go ahead and lengthen or reach up. If this doesn't feel good in your shoulder, though, always know you can do something like cactus arms or fingertips to the collarbone. Now, this is where if you just continue to go, right, it might feel like you're going to follow the chair. And of course, we don't want that. So you can stabilize with either holding the left hand into the thigh or to the back of the chair. And then continuing to try and really find some nice length throughout that side body. You could even send the gaze up to the sky. These are all things that are offering a little challenge to your balance. Take one more inhale here. Let's exhale and come up, and we'll go right into side gate pose. Side gate pose, you take the right hand down the length of the right leg, and then reaching up and over to the other side. Taking some nice full breath in here. Take one more inhale and then come back up to center. So now your spine is tall, your legs are in the same shape. We're going to take this into a gentle twist. So looking away from the extended leg, you're going to take if your right leg is long, you're going to take your right hand across to the left thigh and look over to the left. So your spine is nice and long. Getting a little rotation into the spine. You can even turn your gaze that way. Take one more inhale here and exhale, turn back to center. Go ahead and return that foot back around to the front of the chair. You could shake out the legs. You could windshield wiper those knees. Now let's go ahead and set up the other side. So left leg, you're going to swing that around to the side. You can go ahead and lengthen or extend the leg long. And again, it's this idea of creating as much distance between the left fingertips and the left toes. So you're going to reach those fingertips away. Now, notice your left hip, right? So that's in between the fingertips and the toes. Can you press your hip down into the chair and grow a little further? Again, another way that we stabilize and balance is we can create these expansions in our torso that we don't often think about. Let's take one more inhale here. Exhale, rise back up, and then we're going to track the hand down the leg into side gate pose. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, let's rise back up. Go ahead and swing the legs back around. And you might feel a little tension or awareness to that low back. So let's go ahead and give our body a little release by walking the hands forward and down towards a forward fold. Then slowly start to roll back up to a tall spine. So I want to offer a little bit of practice where we're walking on the mat. If you're having a day where you want to stay in the chair, all of these are adaptable. We're going to do things like tightrope walk, and you can stay in the chair and bring the feet kind of stacked in front, and we're going to side walk. So I hope to give some options. If I see you and I see that you're staying in your chair, you can, I'll try to set up some of those cues. If you're willing to come up to doing some standing work, go ahead and rise up to a standing position for a moment. So what I would say is set up the chair so that it's there for you if you need it. And we are going to play, like I said, a little bit with some movement or for some steps. Now I have a yoga mat, so I guess I'm going to kind of orientate myself to cueing that way. You don't necessarily have to, but I kind of like that you can almost think of the yoga mat as like a little mini runway. So the first practice that we're going to do, and I'm actually going to move the chair out of the way just so that you can kind of see the steps. But what I want to invite is that you do imagine that there's a tightrope or a line that you want to walk on. You can use your hands to kind of balance out by bringing them out wide, or you can bring the hands to the waist. And so as you step forward, try to step to the, if you're working on a mat, the middle of your mat, or kind of designate a line, a visible line drawn out. And you're going to step as best as you can on that line for about, 4 to 5 steps. And then you're going to go ahead and bring it backwards. And so as I mentioned, if you're staying in the chair, it looks like everybody got up that I can see, but if you're staying in the chair, you're bringing one foot in front of the midline, then you're switching and doing that other step. So it is possible to get this work and activation in the muscles from the seat of the chair. Like I said, 3 to 5 steps in one direction, and then go ahead and come back. Once you make it back to that sort of initial start place, now we're going to do a step forward and back with a little bit more of a giant step. So think about like a lunge position. So maybe your stride step is, say a foot, try and get at least a foot and 2 inches, right? So you're going to step forward a little bit wider than your regular stance. You can bend into that knee and hold here a little bit. You can hold onto the chair. And then either having that back foot meet the front foot, or you're going to step it all the way forward and take another giant step. And again, you might only do 2, like 1 on each side. And then you have the feet meet, and you're going to do that same thing going backwards. So you're going to take a big giant step backwards. And again, you're either going to have the foot meet together, or you're just going to keep it going and step that foot backwards as well. And then once again, you'll meet at the back of the mat. You only have to do that one pass for that one. So now we're going to turn to the side. This one, you might stay a little bit more in place if you don't want to track up and down a distance. So you can, we're going to do a cross with the legs again. So if you're behind the chair and don't want to lose the support of the chair, you're going to step in front and step in front, okay? If you're traveling on the mat, you're going to cross the far leg over and then uncross. Stay on the same side, cross the leg over and uncross, cross the leg over and uncross. And then you're going to go back the other way or dominate with the other leg if you've been staying in the same place. So cross the leg over. And again, you can be doing this in the seat of the chair, but from what I can see, everybody's doing a standing version of this. Good work. And then we're going to do wide steps. So from the side, you're going to lean into the farthest leg and step it wide, and then have that leg meet the other leg. Same thing, you're going to step the leg wide and come back. Maybe get one more step. That's okay. You could do one or just do two. And then you're going to go back the other place. And again, you could be doing this standing behind the chair. You just step out to the side once, step out to this other side the other way. Okay. So eventually you're going to land back to being in a centered space or back at the back of your mat. So if you are working on a yoga mat, come to like the center as we always practice, and we're going to start to do some warrior work. But take a little time to take care of your feet, right? Because we did do a lot of different fundamentals in the chair. So whether you sit in the chair for a little bit or stand on one leg and rotate through the ankles and wiggle the toes a little bit, just give your feet a little love. And then we're going to go ahead and now set up for warrior two. So again, you have that opportunity if you want to take a seated warrior two. That is swinging the right thigh out to the side and then opening up those arms in opposite direction. If you are standing warrior two, having the chair set up in front of you for support if you need it, step the feet wide, point the right toes over the side and bend into that knee. So you've got the same legs and open up those arms, warrior two. Now you can always hold onto the chair if you need it. We're going to bring this into goddess warrior. So flip the right palm up to the sky. Same thing if you're seated or standing. You're going to reach up to the ceiling, maybe even back. Legs stay the same. You're going to open back up to warrior two. And we're going to bring it into extended side angle prep pose. So extended side angle prep pose, you bring that front hand to the thigh. Your other hand is going to reach into the sky. You're going to hold onto the chair for support. Or if you're seated on the chair and extending the arm doesn't feel good, here and bring the hand to the waist. An invitation for a little bit of shoulder opening here. One way you can do this is bring the hand behind the head, elbow stays wide, but you could also do this if you're standing behind the chair, bring the hand to the chair. We did this last week. It's okay if you weren't here, but you're going to go ahead and look down towards the mat and rotate through the spine, drawing the elbow towards the floor. You're going to inhale, open up. Exhale, rotate back down. Inhale to open up. It's okay if you're not following my breath, just make sure that you are breathing. One more. Once you're back open to the sky, you can release that hand. Use the strength of your core to rise back up, warrior two. Then let those arms rest. Coming out of warrior two from standing, you create an extended leg, parallel the feet to the side, and step those feet together. That was a long time standing posture, so just take care of those feet if you need to. Shake them out if you're feeling this a lot into the back. Maybe come to a forward fold, bring the hands to the back of the chair. Maybe you want something lower, right? If you are seated, hopefully you've also found your way back around to the front and folding over the front of your legs. Good work, everyone. When you're ready, go ahead and roll back up to a tall spine. Let's go ahead and set up warrior two to the other side. So you're going to swing your left thigh over to the side of the chair if you are seated and extend those arms open. Standing, you're going to step the feet wide, point the toes out to the side, and then bend into that knee. All right, then finding your warrior two arms if you haven't. Feeling into the strength of the posture, feeling the effort of the feet, rooting into the floor. Go ahead and flip the left palm up to the sky, reach it up and back. Go ahead and let's open through warrior two, coming into an extended side angle prep pose. So that front forearm can come down to the front thigh. And then an opportunity here just to get a little bit of shoulder opening. And I like to kind of bring my hand to the head or to the collarbone, but you could also bring the hand to the chair. And the idea is you're going to look down, you're going to rotate through that spine, drawing the elbow down towards the mat, and then opening back up to the sky, possibly sending your gaze up there. And then again, down towards the mat and open back up. Once your heart is open again, you can release into extended side angle, extending that arm up, floating back up, warrior two. And then from warrior two, let's go ahead and rest the arms. If you're coming out from standing, go ahead and extend that front leg, parallel those feet again, and step them together. Again, that you might need to shake out the feet. If you are seated, maybe you're shaking out the legs a little bit. And then, of course, give yourself a little bit of space to round the spine if you need to, like a forward fold. 3 breaths. Now we're going to do our balance practice next. And I think what I'll do is demonstrate it from the chair first. And so you're more than welcome to come down the chair and do it with me. If you don't know the standing version of 5-pointed star, falling star, and jellyfish. I love that it's called jellyfish. But yeah, it will be hard for me to kind of jump in between the standing and the seated version. So I'm just going to show the seated version on one side and then go to the, maybe we'll just do it on both sides so that we're even. And then know that if you stay in the seated option, you have your work and your balance challenge. If you want to try the standing with me in a moment, then you can try the standing. So 5-pointed star is about expansion. So you want to take the arms, but I always like to say that there's so many different stars, right? There are shooting stars, there are rising stars, superstars, right? There's all these different kinds of stars in the world. And so you can express your star and be you how you'd like. So some of you might reach those arms out as far as they can and extend the legs as far as you can, right? You might find that it feels more spacious to be more like a T or a little bit lower, but wherever you find your expansion, stick with it. And then it's a little hard to see my feet, but as we go into falling star, you're going to lean over to the right and maybe even pick up the left foot. And then you're going to come back to center, really ground and anchor and expand out through the heart. And then you're going to do that on the other side. And come back to center. Jellyfish is, we're going to just add a step. You're going to come into falling star, right? Lean to the right, lift that left leg, and then you're going to hug everything in towards the body and then open back out. And then come back to 5-pointed star, reaching or extending out over to the left. Jellyfish is drawing everything in. I think it's like that, you know, how they propel through the water, opening back up and landing back in 5-pointed star. All right, so you can rest the hands, roll the shoulders, bring those feet back in, shake it out. Now, if that seated version felt like a good challenge, you can feel that play of how you're shifting side to side in your sit bones and you're creating some challenge and balance for your body. If you're going to try the standing version, know that again, you can have and use a chair as support if you need it. And you also don't necessarily have to lift a leg when we get into five-pointed star. You can just do toe down. That is still asymmetry in the body, is still a balance. So let's play around with that. But we're going to once again come back to five-pointed star. So if you are staying seated, you're going to do the same thing that we just did. You're going to repeat the sequence. If you are standing, go ahead and find your star, reaching far out through the fingertips, anchoring down strong through the feet. Feel your roots. Then falling stars, right? You're going to tip to the side, still stay expansive. You might come up on that back heel. Of course, I covered it up. Let me move that over to the side. You might come over off the heel, keeping the toes down or lifting up. Try to do this with as much grace as you can. You can laugh that I said that word, but that is that core connection and strength. And then placing yourself back to five-pointed star, right? That feels nice and solid. So we have these moments where I'll come right back to being nice and solid. Then you're going to expand again. You're going to lean over into the other side. And again, falling star. And coming back to five-point star. So here's the option. You can do jellyfish with this, right? So we're going to start out in five-pointed star. We're going to lean over into falling star. Jellyfish, again, you can hug everything in. If you're using the chair, just take hold of the chair how you need, and then expanding back out, and then landing into five-pointed star. We're going to take it into falling star on the other side. Jellyfish. Opening into that falling star again, and then landing down, five-pointed star. One more time each side, right? Falling star, jellyfish if you want. Five-pointed star. Let's go over to falling star, second side. Jellyfish. Opening back up. And landing. Five-pointed star. Ta-da, right? That's a good challenge. So I hope that felt like a good practice and balance for you. I think that sometimes keeping it moving makes it a little more fun, but also an interesting exploration. So go ahead and take care of anything that came up for you for doing that kind of dynamic movement. A forward fold might feel really nice. You can always bring the hands to the back of the chair, the seat of the chair, or lower. If you're seated in the chair, you can round forward into a seated forward fold. From that forward fold, let's go ahead and roll back up. Finally, one more strong posture. I want to come into camel pose. Now, camel pose traditionally is a kneeling posture. You can do it standing or seated. I kind of like standing because I do think that it gives you your whole body to really lengthen out. When I say that it is not a back pain, it is a back bend. The back bend is not synonymous with back pain, although we think of it when we bend our back. So I really want you to feel nice and strong in the mechanics of a heart lift before getting into it. So whether you opt to stay seated or whether you opt to stay standing, go ahead and notice where your hips are in space. So shifting forward and back on the hips, you might notice what happens to your back muscles. Now, I am someone that has chronic back pain, so when I get space into my back, I really do feel it, but sometimes it's a little harder to gauge if you don't typically have back pain, right? So for me, drawing the hips slightly forward in front, which is more of a tailbone down, gives a lot more space to my low back. And so I'm going to keep that space as I open up the thoracic cavity or the upper chest. So go ahead and find cactus arms, right? Elbows bent, fingers spread wide. You can have the elbows a little tighter to the body if you want. And then everything else is motivated from the heart, right? So go ahead and start to lift your heart up to the sky. Squeeze your belly and then lift the heart up. Now, if you got back pain, right, push those hips more forward or don't go deeper and lessen it until you have no pain. Again, back bends are not back pain. They should not be painful. Keep going if you still have space and room to grow. But again, make sure that you're not getting into any back pain. Now, if you are in a chair, you could reach those hands back and grab hold of the chair, press the hands into the seat of the chair. For those of you who are standing, just maintain or keep the hands in the air, right? Let's do 2 more breaths in camel pose. Nice strong breaths. Inhale, exhale. One more big breath into the heart. And as you exhale, use core strength to lift yourself up nice and strong. And then one more time, let's do a generous forward fold, opening up and unwinding any tensions that built from that posture. You can slowly start to roll back up to a tall spine. And then if you are standing, go ahead and make your way back to a seated position. So I really want to make sure that everybody gets any remaining tension or discomfort in the back. I want you to get some space to the back line of the body. And so this, I like to do this just for a little bit for their back release, but it also does take a lot of strength to do it. And it is hugging one knee in towards the belly. So I find if I come a little bit more to the front of the chair and then lean back, I get a little bit more space to do this. And then you can draw one knee in. Now, if you can thread the hands over the top of the shins, go for it. I don't have long enough arms, so I bring my hands underneath the thigh and hug my knee in. I also draw my chin down, so I really curl that spine. And then you can lower that first leg. Go ahead and take hold of the second leg, and again, curl and round once you get a hold. And then once again, go ahead and return both feet to the mat. Now you can readjust on your chair so you don't feel like you're at the edge of the seat. Wonder where that expression came from. I'd be curious. Sitting on the edge of the seat. I don't think it was because they took a yoga class, but you never know. All right, let's come into figure 4 pose next, or pigeon pose, right? So this is from the seat of the chair. Go ahead and cross an ankle over the other thigh. If this doesn't feel like a big stretch in your hip, I feel like I haven't done much with my hips this morning, so this feels plenty intense, and I don't think I'm going to add any more. But always know that you could hinge forward, and that will change the sensation that you feel into that hip area. So, but yeah, whew, my hips are having a tight day. I did do, so I know some of us were talking before class started about about how early 8 o'clock can feel. My parents are the opposite. I think my parents get up around 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is crazy. I've never been a morning person, and that's changed for them, I feel like, since they retired. But for me, nope. I was the kid that if I could sleep until noon, I'd be totally fine with it. So 8 o'clock's early for me, but I do manage to get up about that time or a little bit before so I can function by that time. But I do teach 3 nights a week. I teach until 9 o'clock at night. So I'm usually not done with my work day, if you will, until 9 p.m. And then it takes me a little bit to come home and unwind. And then, so there's that too. So I am definitely more of a nocturnal creature. That being said, I went into this whole story because I taught yin class where the focus was deep hip stretches. And so I think my body's feeling that a little bit more today. Let's go ahead and release figure 4 on this side. So if you did hinge forward, lift up and then lower that leg down, go ahead and kind of feel into, does that hip feel connected to you? We started out with that nice centering breath practice where I talked about, can you bring connection to all of the spaces in your body? It's easy to lose disconnection when our body feels something intense, or we create shifts and changes. So it's important to sort of reassimilate, re-bring in that awareness of the body being part of the your body being part of your body or your being. And then let's go ahead and set up the other side. So you can cross ankle over thigh. Maybe we can have this conversation after practice. I'm curious how others feel about how late you stay up at night. I thought that that would be something that, as I got older, I would probably not stay up so late, but no, I think I'm just more nocturnal by nature. I will always be a bit more of a night owl. That's why I like to, though, like honestly, like read and process things I study. So I could just by nature enjoy later hours and later mornings. Take about 3 more breaths in figure 4 or pigeon pose on this side. When you're ready to release, again, if you did hinge forward into those hips, go ahead and lengthen the spine. Go ahead and release that foot down. Windshield wiper those knees if you'd like. Shake out the legs. All right, so I'd like to offer one more thing before we go into Shavasana, which is a front body stretch. So we did a lot of side to side opening. We did expansion through and creating space to the back. So this is a variation to like a bridge pose, which some people do lying on the back. So we want to open up and stretch the front line of the body. So we want to feel long through the torso and through the legs. If it's comfortable for you to extend your legs relatively straight in front of you, go ahead and do that. And you might have to come a little bit away from the back of the chair so that you have something to lean into. So again, you're trying to create this nice front open body. And then if you want, you could extend or reach back. If you have a high back to your chair, this might not fully work. And then I'd recommend going a little bit more out to the side, or if it's just better for your shoulder blades, go out to the side. But you really want to open the front of your body just one more time, a little bit more gentle than that camel pose, of course. But take a deep, deep breath in here. And then as you exhale, you can start to release the arms. You can begin to glide the feet in. I said that that was the last pose, but if you feel ready for Shavasana, you just want to take an extra rest in your chair or on the floor, however you're practicing, you can do that. Otherwise, I'll guide you through a twist each side before finishing practice. So if you're doing a spinal twist with me, again, you can also be heading into Shavasana right away. You don't necessarily have to add this to your practice, but create nice length through your spine, a gentle engagement through the belly or the abdomen, so that is also supporting rotation through the spine. And then go ahead and turn towards the right, bring the left hand over to the right thigh, and that right hand is going to take maybe a hold of part of your chair, or another option is to press into the side of your hip. You should feel that most of your spine or most of your vertebrae column from tailbone to the top of the head is involved in the rotation. If it feels like it's more in one space, just be mindful of that and don't force too much torque in that one area. You can always gently unwind the twist a bit if it feels a little bit more aligned to the whole length of the spine. Take one more inhale here. Use your exhale to unwind back to center. Now, once again, lengthening up, slight engagement to the belly, and then let's rotate over to the other side. So that right hand can come to left thigh, left hand can take hold of the chair. Take one more inhale. Exhale, unwind back to center. You could do any less movement that you need to, any less wiggles if you haven't found your way to Shavasana. And when you're ready to find that rest posture, once again, find as most comfortable of a position as you can for your body. That might be leaning your back into the back of the chair. That might be lengthening the legs a little or bringing them in. Everybody's a little different. There's nothing that you need to do in Shavasana other than just be. You may also know that you want a little bit more time in this space. So take all the time that you need. If you feel like bringing a little bit more awareness back in, you can begin to do things like small movements, wiggling through fingers, toes, moving the ankles and wrists around. But take your time. There's really no rush. It might feel good if that feels nice, just adding in more movements, bending through elbows, knees. Now, we spent the practice or their centering just connecting to an internal awareness of our own presence and being. And so, as you start to bring your own practice to a close, is there some quality or essence of how you feel connected right now that comes up for you? That could be a sense of joy. It could be a sense of accomplishment if you found practice challenging today. Maybe you feel strong or possibly balanced. And if there's a way in which it feels real or true to you, to take one of those words or some other word that came up for you and set an intention to bring that into the other areas of your life. Maybe there's some place where you just need a little extra strength and you know that you have these qualities because you achieve that in this yoga practice. Take strength with you, take joy with you. Now, if you need more time connecting within, just stay present to your own space. If you do feel ready to close in community, you can once again, if your eyes were closed, go ahead and bring your presence or gaze back into this space. You might find that you want to sit tall for a moment or feel your feet into the floor once again. And I'd like to offer Haikini Mudra as our closing mudra. I've been practicing or offering this one a little bit. You form the tips of the fingers all touch each other, and you form almost like a globe shape with the hands. And the idea with this, the mudra intention is a balancing mudra. It balances our, what's in yoga they call the vayus, but it references the winds. So if you ever feel like your energy goes in different directions, you might know that this might feel balancing to you. You might even notice in between each tip, there's a little energy in between the different fingers. I find this mudra feeling really powerful and grounded for me, but it is a mudra for balancing, and it is that sort of self-care, self-maintenance mudra that we can nourish our body by practicing with this. It's in this space that I would like to offer an Om to close. Know that you can join in with your voice or ears, however you'd like. We'll exhale, inhale, and then Om. So whenever you're ready, exhale out all the air in your body. Take a deep breath in. The light and the energy and the love within me honors and sees that light, that energy, that love and balance within you. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today, and I do hope that you have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you so much. I will stay on if you need anything. Of course, this is our last class, but hopefully I'll see you in a week or so.